Well, hey everyone. In the last year, my team and I have reviewed a lot of retirement income plans. One thing I consistently see is that there's still some misinformation about how spousal benefits are calculated. Now, this is something I've covered before on this channel, but it's been over a year since the last spousal benefits video, and judging by the lack of understanding on this benefit calculation by both individuals who are planning to retire, unfortunately, those professionals who are helping them get ready, I think it's time that we cover this again. And even if you've watched my prior videos on spousal benefits, stick around for this one. My goal every time I make a video about an area I've talked about before is to distill and clarify that information even further. My hope every time is that this will be the video that makes it so clear that all of you reach this utopia where everyone understands the concepts clearly enough to know what to expect and how to spot mistakes in their benefit payment amounts. But before we jump into this too deeply, since we are talking about making things clear, if you haven't already, be sure to get my Social Security cheat sheet. This has all of the most important numbers and limits that pertain to Social Security survivor benefits and condenses it down to just one page. This is used by financial planners and CPAs all over the nation as a desk reference, and if you want your own copy, you can have it for free. I do update this every year, and as long as you're on my email list, I'll send out the updated version every year as soon as it's published. So I'll put a link down below where you can get your copy. So the simplest way to understand the concept of spousal benefits is to think of them as an assurance that if the lower earning spouse files for Social Security at full retirement age, they would not receive less than half of the higher earning spouse's full retirement age benefit. Now, we can look at an example to see how spousal payments would work in the real world. Let's assume we have a couple where the husband worked outside the home and he paid into Social Security over his career. The wife managed the home and thus did not pay into Social Security. At full retirement age, the husband has a monthly Social Security benefit of $2,000. And because the wife did not work in a role that allowed her to earn the required 40 credits, she won't have a benefit of her own. However, as an eligible spouse, she could receive a benefit of $1,000 per month as a spousal payment at her full retirement age. Now, if she filed for that benefit early, it will be reduced based on her age. I'll get to that in a moment. But what if the wife did earn the required 40 credits for her own benefit and still earn less than the husband? Well, this is where the dual entitlement roles come into play. If the husband in our example has a full retirement age benefit of $2,000 per month and the wife has her own benefit of $800 per month, dual entitlement says the wife is still eligible for a total benefit of $1,000. Remember, at full retirement age, the lower earning spouse can get the greater of her benefit or one half of the higher earning spouse's benefit. In this case, the wife can still have a total benefit of $1,000, but she'll receive her own benefit of $800 first, and then a spousal payment of $200 to get her up to the full $1,000 that she's eligible for. Now, what's critical to understand with dual entitlement is that these are really two separate benefit payments, but kind of mashed into one. The easy way to understand how this may apply in your situation is a really simple formula, and that is one half of the higher earner full retirement age benefit minus the lower earner full retirement age benefit equals the spousal payment. Now, if we go back to the husband and wife in our example, we know that half of the higher earner's benefit amount is $1,000. We can then subtract the lower earner's benefit amount of $800 to see that the spousal payment would be $200. Now, I know you may be thinking, if the result at the end of this calculation is still one half of the higher earning spouse's benefit, why does it even matter? It's a good question. Here's my answer. It's important to know the formula and how the calculation works because an individual's own benefit from their work and the spousal payment are not calculated the same when it comes to reductions for filing early or increases for filing later. Let me show you what I mean. If you look at this chart, you'll see your age followed by a column that shows the reductions or increases to your own benefit, and then the column on the far right shows the reductions or increases to your spousal payment. So let's make the assumption that your full retirement age is 67. At that age, you would receive 100% of your own benefit, and you would also receive 100% of your spousal amount. If you file 1 year early at 66, you would receive 93 1/3 of your benefit, and 91 2/3 of your spousal amount. At 65, it would be 86 2/3 of your benefit and 83 1/3 of your spousal amount. You can see that the difference in reductions between your benefit and the spousal benefit continue to widen all the way back until the earliest age of filing, which is age 62. The other notable part of the difference is that your own benefit will increase if you delay filing, but your spousal payment will not increase. So just to make sure we are really clear on how a spousal benefit will actually be reduced, let me walk you through an example where we use dollars. Let's continue with our assumption from earlier that the higher earning spouse has a full retirement age benefit of $2,000 and the lower earning spouse has a benefit of $800. From what we've covered so far, we know that the lower earner is entitled to a total benefit of $1,000 at full retirement age because that's one half of the higher earning spouse's full retirement age benefit. However, that benefit would be paid as $800 for the lower earning spouse's own benefit, and the other $200 comes as a spousal payment. These two benefits would be reduced or increased separately based on age of entitlement. Now, just for this example, we'll assume that both spouses are the same age and file at the same time, but we'll dive into that divided filing here in just a moment. As you move back through the earlier filing ages in the chart, you can see how each benefit is reduced all the way down to 62. At this point, the total payment would be $690. On the other side of full retirement age, you can see that the benefit from your own work increases, but not the spousal payment because that amount will not increase beyond full retirement age. So far, this is relatively easy to follow. We've established that a duly entitled spouse will receive their own benefit first, and then a spousal payment on top of that to get them up to one half of the higher earning spouse's full retirement age benefit amount. And that both of these payments would be reduced separately for filing before or after full retirement age. All of this so far has essentially been a restatement of things that we've covered so far. But here's a small wrench I'd like to throw into the machine here to make this interesting. What happens if someone files for their own benefit but is not yet eligible to receive the spousal payment? The answer, and the next calculation I'm going to show you, has confused a lot of people. And this actually happens fairly often due to a rule that says before a spousal payment can be paid, the higher earning spouse must file first. We can figure out how this works by using the chart that we just used and continue our example of a higher and lower earning spouse in a marriage where each is entitled to their own benefit, but the lower earning spouse also will receive a spousal payment. Let's assume that the lower earning spouse has reached full retirement age and they file for their benefit of $800. If the higher earning spouse has already filed, they'll get the spousal payment of $200. But if they haven't already filed, they will not get the spousal payment. That would keep their total payment to $800. This goes for any age at which the lower earning spouse files, as long as the higher earning spouse has not yet filed. The lower earning spouse cannot get the spousal payment in this scenario. So their total payment would only be their own benefit reduced or increased for their filing age. Now, let's step this up to a more likely scenario where a lower earning spouse files for benefits, and let's say 2 years later, the higher earning spouse files for benefits. When the higher earning spouse files, it entitles the lower earning spouse to a spousal payment. But how would this be calculated? Well, it's based on the age of entitlement. Let's go back to the chart and look at an example. Assume the lower earning spouse files for their benefit at 62. That spouse would start receiving $560, which is 70% of their full retirement age benefit. Since the higher earning spouse has not yet filed, the lower earning spouse would not receive a spousal payment. But if the higher earning spouse files 2 years later, the lower earning spouse would become entitled to a spousal payment. And here's the important part. It would be the lower earning spouse's entitlement to the spousal payment portion that would determine how that portion would be reduced, not when the lower earning spouse filed for their own benefit. So as you can see, a spousal benefit can go just a little deeper than just assuming it's always one half of the higher earner's benefit. Hey, one last quick thing. There's been a lot of talk lately about changing up the method used for calculating the annual cost of living adjustment to Social Security. Not long ago, I released a video where I dove into what's being proposed and how it differs from the way it's currently being calculated. This is something that everyone needs to know because it could result in future benefit cuts. Just click here and watch that video next. Thank you so much for watching.